Imagine being born black in the American South, free yet surrounded by chains. What kind of courage would it take to rise from silence into the Senate? In 1827, as the United States trembled beneath the uneasy balance of the Missouri Compromise, a free black child was born in Fayetteville, North Carolina, Hiram Rhodes Revels. At a time when over 2 million African Americans remained enslaved, Revels' very existence stood in contrast. His father, a Baptist preacher and skilled tradesman, had purchased their family's freedom, a rare triumph in the oppressive architecture of the slaveholding South. While cotton fields burned with labor, a future senator took his first breath. In a nation that feared an educated black mind, Revels crossed state lines to learn what others fought to keep from him. Denied schooling in the South, Revels traveled north. From Union Literary Institute in Indiana to Knox College in Illinois, he defied the legal and cultural chains of ignorance. It was the 1840s when manifest destiny fueled war with Mexico and expansionism dominated white ambitions. But for Revels, true conquest was intellectual, mastering Latin, theology, and philosophy while most black Americans were forbidden to even read. He didn't need a gun. His voice was enough to terrify the powerful. Ordained by the African Methodist Episcopal Church, Revels became a traveling preacher through border states simmering with racial tension. In Missouri and Maryland, he was arrested simply for preaching to black congregations. But with each sermon, he built something larger than a congregation. He built a movement. While others armed themselves, Revels used scripture as a blade and truth as his shield. When America tore itself apart, Revels stepped forward, not just to pray, but to fight. As the Civil War erupted in 1861, Revels helped raise 2 black regiments for the Union Army. Over 180,000 black soldiers joined the Union's ranks, many armed with outdated rifles and hand-me-down uniforms, often facing Confederate bullets and racist Union officers. Revels served as a chaplain at the Siege of Vicksburg in 1863, one of the war's most brutal campaigns. He saw men die with dignity and buried them with honor, carrying their legacy into his next mission. The Confederacy fell. Now the question was, would America rise or relapse? After the war, Mississippi stood at the heart of Reconstruction, its infrastructure shattered and society transformed. Federal troops patrolled the streets, and black men, nearly half the state's population, gained the right to vote. When Mississippi rejoined the Union in 1870, it did something unthinkable. It chose a black man to represent it in the Senate. The seat, once held by Jefferson Davis, the president of the Confederacy, was now occupied by Hiram Revels. Some called it blasphemy, others called it prophecy, but no one could deny it. A black man had entered the Senate chamber. On February 25, 1870, white senators debated whether Revels could legally serve. The Dred Scott decision of 1857 had declared no black person could be a U.S. citizen, but now, bolstered by the 14th Amendment, the tide turned. In a 48-8 vote, Revels was seated. Gasps filled the chamber, and for the first time in U.S. history, a black voice spoke from a place of national power. He didn't whisper, he roared in calm, deliberate tones. As senator, Revels advocated for desegregated schools, voting rights, and reintegration policies that balanced justice with forgiveness. He opposed amnesty for Confederate leaders who showed no remorse. "We are willing to be reconciled," he said, "but we want to be assured of the sincerity of our adversaries." As white supremacist violence escalated in the South, Revels used the Senate as his pulpit, demanding protection, dignity, and investment in black communities. He didn't crave power, he planted it. Revels declined a second term and instead became the first president of Alcorn University, one of America's first historically black land-grant colleges. Located in Claiborne County, Mississippi, Alcorn became a beacon of opportunity for freedmen and their children, offering higher education in agriculture, science, and liberal arts. There, Revels trained future black leaders, teachers, preachers, journalists, and politicians, knowing that sustainable change wouldn't come from Washington alone. His vision extended beyond speeches. He was building an institution that would outlive him. His work helped shape the political, intellectual, and cultural class of post-Reconstruction black America, even as white backlash gathered strength and segregationist policies closed in. The door he opened was slammed shut for a century, but never locked. After Reconstruction collapsed in 1877, federal troops withdrew from the South under the Compromise of 1877, effectively abandoning black Americans to white supremacist regimes. The Ku Klux Klan, which had already murdered hundreds of black leaders, now operated with impunity. Southern legislatures enacted Jim Crow laws, poll taxes, and literacy tests designed to eliminate black voting rights. Revels' name vanished from newspapers, his Senate portrait left to gather dust. It would be nearly 100 years before another black senator, Edward Brooke, in 1967, was elected. But in barbershops, churches, and quiet conversations, Revels' legacy lived on as proof that power had once been possible. He didn't just make history, he made space for all who would follow. Today, every black U.S. senator, from Carol Moseley Braun to Kamala Harris, from Cory Booker to Raphael Warnock, walks the trail that Revels first carved with dignity, patience, and fire. The Senate floor, once a chamber of exclusion, now echoes with the voices of those once written out of the American promise. Revels proved that leadership isn't about permission, it's about presence. He sat in a seat once occupied by the architect of the Confederacy and rewrote its legacy. And if stories like this matter to you, if forgotten heroes deserve to rise again, hit that subscribe button, like this video, share this chapter of American history that textbooks too often ignore. Because voices like Hiram Revels should never go silent again. Because the past isn't dead, it's unfinished. And every click, every share, every voice helps write the next chapter.